Yeah. Okay. Next item of business, back to order, the Protective Services Report. Could I get a motion on that? Councillor Danaka?
Make a motion that council receive the Senior Peace Officers August 2017 report for information.
Mr. Martinson?
If any councillors have any questions regarding the report, could you forward them on to me, and I will find the answers out for you and get back to you.
All right then, so is there anything that anybody saw in the report that you would like to draw to the attention of all the councillors before you forward that specific question on to Mr. Martinson? Seeing nothing, could all in favor then of accepting the report for information? That motion is carried. Minutes of the September 26th regular meeting. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes? Councillor Panasic?
Yep.
Motion is to accept for information. Are there any errors? Sorry?
There is an error on page 11. 3 of 7 of the, it says on the last, remove the check listing, it says moved by Michael Long. Should be Councillor Long.
Oh,
Right on the bottom.
oh right, Councillor Long.
So that was the only error.
Okay.
Already?
So you get it as amended?
As amended?
Yes, as amended.
All in favor then? There's nothing else? Okay. Do I see your hand go up slowly? Thank you. And next item is the water bottle refilling fountains. Could I have a motion then? Councillor Gilroy?
Yeah, I'll take administration's recommendation. Council approve the request to carry over funds for the water bottling and refilling station into 2018, and that $12,000 be placed in a restricted reserve account.
Okay. Is there any discussion or comments regarding that, Mr. Martinson?
That was part of the extra stuff that there was a error in the write-up on it.
Oh. Request to reallocate funding from community engagement to legacy projects.
Yes.
Okay. So is that a different motion or is it just the information?
No, there's two different motions.
Yes.
There's this, if I can speak on this
Yes.
one. There's a motion, first of all, to carry the funds over, or that $12,000 that has been approved for the water filling stations, that we have already as a council approved $12,000. However, it does not look like it could be spent this year because we're looking at trying to get a grant. The grant has not been approved as of yet, and we probably will not hear until early 2018 on whether the grant's been approved. So one of the so that's one of the options, is to do it. The other option, actually, and I thought I'd put it down in the original one, but not, is that we could use that $12,000, spend it now, and then if and when we get some grant funding, then we could use the money from the grant to buy more fountains. And actually, my suggestion would be that we spend the money, buy what water filling stations we can now, and we could start installing them and get using them. For example, putting it in the Sports Palace or Gordon Buchanan Center, and it could be used this winter while we have the kids there. That would be my recommendation, is spend the $12,000. If we get the matching grant dollars, we just turn it over and start buy some more that we can put out in other areas of the town.
Councillor Gilroy?
I do have a small concern with this, and that's why I said put it aside. And that is that they've gone for a total of $38,000, and that's what the total cost is going to be. How do we guarantee that It will not come back again to the next council and say, well, we need an extra 10,000 or an extra bit because we didn't get our grants, but we wanted this many water fountains. My concern is we don't saddle the next council with, because I mean, no offense to McIntyre Park, but we found where they had bid grants, there was all the confusion and there's extra back and forth. I'd like to just, if it's $12,000, $12,000. But I don't really want to spend any more than that. Okay, so, and I believe in here it said that the original one was we can start using the fountain in Sports Palace. The 2 outside ones would have to wait till spring. So you're talking a 4th one then, Brian, according to what's written here.
Yeah, and I believe that altogether with if we were to spend the $38,000, there would be 5 altogether that would be spread around the town. And that's what the 12,000 would be able to, and correct me if I'm wrong, get us 2 or 3 of them. And then we'd have to install them. Some of that other $38,000 is not the purchasing of them, but it's the installation and the in-kind that would go along with it. So this 12,000 is the actual dollars to purchase the fountains. And the grant would be used with additional dollars to buy the fountains. And so that's why I'm saying use the 12,000. I'd like to see it used now to get putting some of these in, start using them, and then if we get the grants, we could put and maybe buy more outside. And then, yes, you're right. If council did feel that these were worthy and we wanted more, we could decide if they were being used, and we might come back and say, yes, we like these, we'd like to see another one in town. But at least buy them now, put the ones that are going to be used inside, start using them. The one that's outside, that would be an outside one, we'd wait until the spring to install it, and maybe we would get another one. So.
Was the original motion not that, I thought the original motion said that this 12,000 was contingent upon being a successful grant.
I think that was in order to keep the whole project in line, because it was for 4 or 5 water fountains, right? And so our 12,000, that the legacy funding, or the legacy project was a small portion of this, but they needed it to apply for the grant. So I think what we're saying is we can get a small part of this done regardless if we like the project. We're not going to be able to, we can make it contingent and we can wait, and we can just leave that money hanging sort of until it'll be next February, was it? The grant was gonna,
yeah.
Right, and then we thought, well, we're also through the sesquicentennial budget. We're gonna have to keep the sesquicentennial budget alive beyond the end of December, which would, so then we've got to deal with that as well. So if we were just wanting to do the project, we're gonna guarantee we're gonna do a small portion of it. And then if the grant funding is approved, we can continue and do the whole project.
Except you have a motion that says that this 12,000 is contingent upon successful grant. I don't think you can ignore that motion unless whoever made it withdraws it. So you're going to have to look up to see who made it and then have that person withdraw it. You can't make another motion just to override a motion that has been made.
Too bad we didn't have that software. We could just put it in and see if that was the actual motion.
I can go grab it.
And what
Do you
was the
want me-
motion?
I can go grab it. It's on my desk.
Okay. That's as good as the software. There you go. She's gonna go grab
Fancy
it.
as good as software, what?
There's a rumor in there somewhere.
Software is invaluable.
So although, maybe I'll just speak on the next one, just although we're not there yet and we're not gonna make a motion while she's getting that, we'll talk on the next one, which was the MOVE funding from the community engagement community engagement into the legacy. That was the next motion. And what we were looking at doing is trying to move the extra funds that we had left over in community engagement part of the budget into the capital side or the legacy project portion of it. And there's two ideas that are being tossed around, and if we can do this, we could then purchase and go ahead with one of those projects, either a clock, or there was some talk of some metal banners that would be hung up in and around through the town, or something like that. That was the two ideas.
The movement of the money is probably no problem, but you cannot go with a legacy project. You can't go ahead and purchase for a legacy project unless you bring the details back to the next council meeting.
Yeah, and I think we can, once I know, and I'll speak perhaps for the committee, and I think I'm right, is that they were looking at getting all of the final figures in for some of those other projects and then making a decision of what that group felt was a recommendation and bringing it back to council to see what we'd
Okay.
want to do.
So this one is just to move excess funds into the legacy, but not to do anything, not purchasing anything unless council approves.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that was the idea, saying, okay, do we want to do another project? Because right now, there's only, and there was a budget in there, but I believe it's $1,500 is all that's sort of left unspoken for in the legacy project side of things. Yeah, it's $1,500, it's all that's really left in there. And so once you take everything else out, there's another $10,029 left in there that we feel is gonna be extra in from the engagement projects, moving that up into the legacy part and buying and having that money available to do something there. Because I think we've got all of the group looked at the expenses that are going to be needed, and I think we're going to use up, spend what we need, and there'll still be $10,000 left. So the proposal is move it up, buy another legacy project to leave behind in the community. And the package in yours talks about $12,000, but there's only really $10,000 and left once we accounted for some new upgrades, changes to the budget from when this proposal was made.
Okay, let's go back to the water fountain. Councillor Gilroy had made the motion on the original motion, and his motion was that council approve $12,000 from the legacy portion of the sesquicentennial budget to purchase water stations that would be placed around the town on the condition that Lesser Slave Watershed Council grant application is successful. So in order for this to be reversed, Councillor Gilroy would have to be in agreement that that he wants to withdraw the motion. Is it withdraw? Amend? No, withdraw this one. Rescind this motion. So if Councillor Gilroy is not in agreement, then you cannot go forward on that. This is the motion that was agreed for, and it was carried. So, Councillor Gilroy?
In light of the fact that I just made this new motion that said that I wanted to hold the money until the money came in, the grant money came in, I need to be consistent with what I did the first time. So when the money comes in, we can do it. I'm not going to change on that.
Now, I do have one question. The amendment, it doesn't say put it into a restricted fund. So Treasurer, is there a difference between putting it into a restricted fund and the new motion that says just carry it over? Which would the Treasurer prefer?
Restricted fund.
Okay, so.
Which is the motion I just made.
Which is the motion you made.
Well, yours didn't stay a restricted fund. That's what the mayor is saying.
The mayor did, no.
No.
He did make
Option
a
number
motion.
2, I read it right off.
He didn't use your amendment.
Oh,
He used the
okay.
original.
Oh, you used the original.
Okay? So, do we have any other comments or questions or anything? Councillor Panasic?
I have a question for Councillor Gilroy, just to understand what your concern is about waiting and waiting for the money to come from the grant. I guess what I'm saying is, if we like the idea of water fountains and we wanna put in a couple as a legacy project, what's the difference if we wait?
The original purpose of the first motion, if I'm not correct, was that we weren't sure whether or not there would be funding available. And that pretty much council was in agreement that we should wait to see if it was going to come in. And for me, I would, I still am of the same opinion that I do not like it. If money is set aside in a contingent, waiting for other money to come in, I see no difference in changing it. I would rather just hold on to it. It's still going to be there. You can still buy the stuff. I mean, it's not like we're changing our mind on this. It's just saying that it's there until the other money comes in. And I believe it's just, for me, it's being more accountable to the taxpayers that we are watching very carefully. We've done this on many things, and I don't see why we're really questioning this. We did this on the airport. We've done this on many things since I've been here. We've said we will put aside money on a contingent that grants come through, and suddenly you want to change things. I'm very happy with keeping the same thing that we had in the first place. You will still get it eventually if it comes through. If not, then you make a new motion when you find out it's been canceled, and you spend the money. But it still will be there. The money is still there, which is the whole idea behind all this.
Okay, Councillor Long and then Councillor Rose.
If, working with the watershed, we purchase two for $12,000, that does two things. It still shows that our in-kind contribution towards this grant process is real. It's not just a fictitious $12,000. We're actually purchasing it for this. Secondly, it allows our kids to use them now. And it won't hang us up if they don't get it. We've still purchased two as a legacy. And if they do get it, then that's great. But it won't, the watershed isn't going to come to the town saying, we need $38,000 to buy the other three that we wanted to buy, and so can you cough it up? They won't do that. They won't. They're applying for their grant portion, and they hope to get it, and it looks good for them, but we won't know until February, and the carryover we can't do. So if we have this opportunity to utilize it, I understand where you're coming from, and I respect it, I do, but it doesn't mean that if we spend the $12,000 now that they're going to come back to the next council saying, we didn't get our grant, we want more money. They're going to say, thank you very much for purchasing two of them, and that's where it'll stay. And then if we want to choose to purchase more on our own, we could, but that would be up to the council of the day. It doesn't make us beholden to them, and it doesn't mean that they're going to come to us saying, we want money, because that's not the process. They're going through their own grant process, and if they're successful, great. If they're not, then we've got two really nice water stations.
Okay. Moving along, Councillor Rose.
Yeah, and I agree with Councillor Long and Councillor Panasic. I think that putting it in a reserve, unfortunately, almost makes it look like it's contingent. We're basically saying, yeah, we're not going to do this unless we get the money from the watershed. So I guess this council has to decide, do we like the project? Because I thought we liked the project. The Sesquicentennial Committee likes the project, recommended the project, and like to see that we go forward. One, for two reasons. One, we're gonna actually have those water stations up, running, functional right away. We're gonna show that we've done what we said we wanted to do. Two, we're eventually gonna be able to put the budget to bed on this committee and end it in a more timely fashion. Otherwise, we're keeping it alive, waiting for watershed money that maybe we may not even see until the spring.
Okay. My only comment on this is that really we're just talking in a circle here because the motion that Councillor Gilroy has made and he chooses not to rescind is going to top whatever else we decide. So basically, the second motion that he made is just carry it over to restricted account, and that's strictly a bookkeeping issue. So let's vote on whether or not to carry it over into a restricted reserve account. If we don't put it into a reserve account, what happens at the end of the year? Sesquicentennial, the money just sits there, or what happens?
If it's not put into a restricted account, it winds up going into surplus, general surplus.
Okay, and then it's lost, basically, unless we pull it back out again.
Yes.
Okay, so in saying that, I would suggest that we go with the motion that Councillor Gilroy has made to get it into a restricted account, otherwise it will be lost.
Can I just ask a quick question on this? So he made a motion and nobody else can bring forward that motion to,
For rescinding of that motion, no. According to the procedures, whoever made the motion has to rescind it. And he has not rescinded it. So, could we have a vote now on whether you wish to put it into the restricted account or not? All in favor? Opposed? And 1, 2, 3, 4, you voted for to put it restricted. It is carried. Okay.
What was the option if it didn't pass? I'm just trying to think of that. It would just have been lost in.
It would be
general
lost
revenue.
into general revenue.
Yeah.
So
or
basically,
we could have brought back Councillor Gilroy's, like, I mean, he has to rescind it, but somebody else can put a different motion on for another councillor.
that we would have to ask the administrator. So
So we could have brought it back, or
okay, moving on. All right, so the next one is what, move the funding. Okay, so this page that you've got is the reallocation of the community engagement funds, and there's different amounts. So page 18 of your package is no longer in the one you're looking at. What you are supposed to be looking at is the unnumbered page that gives you different figures, which still add up to 10,029.
Right.
Ah, okay, so the other one was 12,000. We have a more exact one here. So could I have a motion then?
The only difference,
Yep.
the only difference there was $5,000, which was allocated to the Winter Carnival. It's actually supposed to be 3,000.
Ah, okay. Yep. And that's what that's the revised page. So Councillor Rose?
the council approved the request to move funds from community engagement to legacy projects.
Do we have any comments, any questions regarding this?
Should we specify an amount? Just so it's-
Doesn't have an amount on here, so I wasn't sure if there was a reason why you guys wanted it this way, Terry, or there's no amount on the recommended action.
I wasn't part of that motion. I just was asked my opinion, and it didn't matter to me one way or another. I usually just round off to even amounts like $10,000, but I usually do, but
Dig in your pocket.
it makes no difference to me. I'm just getting ready for the next question.
Do you want 10,000 inserted into your,
Put $10,000 inserted into the motion then.
from community engagement to legacy projects? Are there any comments? Are there any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? The next item is the treasurer's report. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Long?
The council received the September 2017 Treasury Report as presented for information.
And treasurer, do you have anything you'd like to bring to our attention?
No, I think it's fairly self-explanatory unless council has any questions on it.
Okay. Questions? Any questions on this report? Seeing none? Okay, all in favor of your report? Obviously, you wrote a very good report. Next item is RSP and pension plans. Councillor Gilroy.
I'll move that council request that administration discuss the alternatives with all town employees for their input and, do I make the second motion? Or-
Do you want separate motions?
Okay.
So motion
Take the
one,
first one then.
discuss the alternatives with all town employees for their input. Do you have any questions or concerns regarding this motion? Councillor Danaka.
my question is in the, with all town employees, what's the definition of the town employee? And I'm asking this from the library, in the sense that, is it because they are part of the benefit package that they are considered town employees? Because quasi they aren't. They are not town employees.
No, that is something that's totally different. The second motion applies to the library. The first motion does not apply to the library. The first motion is in regards to the current group that we're with.
Okay.
Whether the people want to change and go to a different company or stay with the Royal Bank, or how they want to do it. So that would be the town employees that have a say in that. The other ones are just, we're doing them a favor by including them. So that applies to the second motion, but the first motion is just for the town employees.
Okay.
All right. Councillor Gilroy?
Would that also affect the potential employees coming over? When you say all town employees?
Basically, since they have not are not yet underneath the town, this motion would be just for the current town employees, because they are the employees at the present time. If council does wish for us to wait until January 1st, when the rec board employees will be under our plan, you could do so.
All right. Councillor Pasek?
There's, what do you want to go to the employees and ask them about? Is it joining the LAPP, or moving from Great West Life to the Royal Bank RSP? What's
The LAPP was just background information. It's not a viable option.
Yeah,
I would personally would love it. I would prefer it, but that's not viable for the rest of the employees. And so the recommendation that came from the Lane Quinn, the consultants, was to either go to Great West Life or stay with the Royal Bank. And currently we have it with the Royal Bank. With the Royal Bank, it's not under the same type of restrictions and the same type of things as under a defined pension plan. It's something that's a little bit different when you work with a bank. And it's almost like a GIC savings, although it's RRSP. So right now, the employees could keep their Royal Bank, even if they went, the town went with Great West Life. The employees could keep their individual Royal Bank accounts, but they wouldn't get the town's portion to go into that. They just have their own portion of whatever they want to put into there. So they could have both if they want to. The Great West Life program is slightly different, and that's why there's the comparison there that's given to you. And the town employees will have to choose which are the ones they wanted. The cost will be the same unless council wants to increase it. But that's, again, another option, another choice.
Okay.
Until I know what the employees want, I don't really want to ask any further of council whether to go up or change or anything else. I personally think that the employees need to be consulted first as to what they want to do for the first one.
So the first decision is whether it's moved from Great West Life to Royal Bank,
The other way around.
or Royal Bank to Great West Life.
Correct.
Sorry,
And this was one of the things that council had recommended. There's a third part that I'm still working on in regards to council benefits, but there was 3 things that you guys had requested. Number 1 was for the benefit package. The second was for the pension plan, to do an investigation into that, and the third one was for the council benefits. And I'm still working on the third one, but this is the second part of what council had requested of us.
And so the second part, just so I'm clear, of this motion, which is talking about restricting where they can, employees can pull their money out of, is something that we can make control. It's not the bank, it's the town that would set the rules.
Correct. With the regular pension plan, they make the rules, and yes, they are under certain restrictions, but that's a different topic.
Can we do that second
Okay.
part of the motion?
Yeah, I just want to understand.
Just one, the first one, alternatives with the employees. So, any other questions regarding that specific motion? None? All in favor? Motion is carried. Second motion. Councilor Rose?
Council directed administration that effective immediately, town policies be adjusted so that funds from the town's RSP plan can only be withdrawn for retirement, house buying, or education purposes.
Did you have a comment there, Councilor Panasi?
I did. Is this being used for purposes other than that? And if so, what? And I thought that was the intent of it.
The intent was for those three purposes only, but no, that is not what is happening. Because there are no restrictions in a bank type of RRSP, as long as the town signs off on it, they can use it for whatever they want. They can use it to buy a snowmobile. So they're using it for, they can use it for their own purposes as a savings account. And then use all the money, and then there's zero, and then they had to start all over with their pension plan. And the intent was not, that was not the intent that the council of the time wanted for the employees. And it has happened a few times where people have withdrawn money for other purposes. I would like it to be restricted to what the intent originally was and what it is for most pensions, and people can only take it out for those three purposes. That's something that I believe very strongly in for HR.
Thank you.
I just want, just to verify with you, Terry, we always had the policy in place that if they took funds other than for education or for house buying, that the town then did not put in their portion for 1 year. Is that what it was?
Correct. And so for 1 year, they don't get the town's portion, but then a year later, they start getting the town's portion again.
I think in the interest of actually doing what we hoped that it's going to do and allow them to save for retirement, putting the restriction in place would probably be a good idea.
Because when I did the research on this is when I found that out, and I found out that there are no restrictions unless council puts one in. And if council puts one in, then whatever council puts in is that restriction that the bank will adhere to.
Any other comments? Any concerns? Councilor Donaka?
Okay, I'm going back to the library now. Now, this RRSP program is for town employees. The library, because you said the first portion doesn't deal with them because they're not in town employees. So how does the second portion deal with them if this is the benefit package for town employees?
Okay, the two motions had a slightly different angle to them. The first motion had to do with the town employees. It's their decision as to whether they want to change their benefit package. Okay. Then, of course, the library, if our staff want to change it, then the library will either have to agree or they can quit having all our benefits. The second motion is being put on by council for everybody in the plan, which includes the library, the rec board, everybody. This will be a new restriction to everybody because the town contributes the 5%.
Okay, can you just go back and explain that again? You had touched something about the library and I didn't quite catch it.
Okay. The first part, the
Yeah.
first motion was employees of the town,
Right,
because they're the ones that have to make that decision whether they want to change their plan.
Right.
The plan is a town plan.
right.
The library has asked to be on the town's plan, but it is the town's plan. So when they asked to be on the town's plan, the town council of the day said yes, and so they are allowed to be on our plan. But it is the town's plan, not the library's plan, it's the town's plan.
Okay. All
Does
right.
that explain it better?
Well, yes,
Okay.
but we discussed this at a last meeting, and it was a question of the town employees because you can't, by law, you can't force somebody to partake in an RRSP plan.
Yes, you can. It's in a lot of different jobs and a lot of different pension plans that when the company offers the plan, like for example for LAPP, they offer the plan to the town, nobody can opt out. It's all or nothing. Nobody can opt out. When I went to the superannuation through the co-op a number of years ago, theirs was that you could not sign up for the first year that you were employed with them. For the 1 to 2 year mark, you had the option. That was the only chance you ever had a choice. You could sign up right away on day one of the second year, or you could wait till the last day of the second year, just before the third year. You had that option during that year. But year 3, you had no choice anymore. You were signed up on the on the superannuation. You had no choice. So most pension plans do have those restrictions. It's all or nothing or whatever else. So
Many, many years ago, there were plans that did give you the option, and most of the women did not take it. But because they didn't take it, they never got a pension. So the government basically came in and made the ruling that everybody has to take the pension.
the problem we've had that has come to light since I've been here are that there are some people that did not sign up on the plan from some of our outside organizations, and it's caused some controversy with the company. The company has been very upset about it, and in the past it wasn't enforced by the previous treasurer and payroll person, but it should have been enforced all along.
I have one question. When you said that the contribution is by the town for the RSP,
The town contributes 5%, the employees contribute 5%.
so on the library, does the town contribute that 5%, or does the library board?
I don't actually know. I'll have to double check on that. That's a good question.
Well, I think that if we're contributing, we better get some credit for it.
That'll be the same as rec board.
Okay,
Their board would do that.
okay,
Yeah, it's within the county.
okay.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions on this? So, seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried. Next item is the Facade Improvement Award Partnership Request. Could I have a motion on this? Councillor Rose?
The council for 2017 become a funding partner along with High Prairie Chamber of Commerce and Big Lakes County Economic Development Authority in the amount of $250 towards the facade improvement award.
I have a question. Could you explain what a facade improvement award is? And then that is, it's a small cash prize and a plaque. It's after they improve their facade.
Yeah, it's an after they improve it, right? So then there'd be a decision as to who would win the award. It would be a plaque and a small cash amount, and it would be handed out. This year they're going to launch it, and it'll be handed out at the gala. And then after that, the details of it, like they're going to launch it without a known contest. So there'll be 2 winners, and then after that, the details will come out. Everybody will know. We're hoping to sort of kickstart a revitalization to whether it be downtown to and an area really, so it can be, they can come out of Main Street. There's one that'll be in the county and one that will be in the community, so it can be a hamlet that upgrades or a store along the highway, and we're hoping to just sort of see that it will feature the design, and it will feature the business, and will also feature the designers. We're hoping to pay attention to the fact that there's local contractors, carpenters that are involved in these projects, and giving them a little opportunity to say that this is the designer, this is the contractors that were involved.
Okay. Councillor Danaka?
I'm not against it, but I feel like I need some more information in terms of what's the criteria that would win this award. Like, is it painting? Is it windows? Is it, like, if I put flower pots on my business?
If they were really great flower pots, you might win. It really is. It's a facade award, right? So it's the exterior.
I'm needing more information as to the criteria, who's going to decide what's considered an improvement.
I think that's open to interpretation, right? And it will be based on what ends up happening. Like right now, there is no criteria. You don't have to do something to get it. You have to improve the exterior look of your business in some capacity.
Councillor Long?
I think it's a great idea. Anytime that we can partner up and encourage the beautification of our town, the better. And we've asked the chamber to step up and be creative and come up with new ideas, and this is a good one, I think. So I'm assuming that it's the chamber that will be making the decisions as to who would win and what the criteria is. And I say that because, boy, we have some hard times making decisions on who's gonna be the citizen of the year, let alone the facade of the year. So, so I'm all very much comfortable in letting the chamber do it. I think it'll instill some excitement in local businesses and hey, you know, they did this, maybe we can do this year. It's a great idea. And it costs us $250. Awesome.
Councillor Gilroy?
I as well, I'm in favor of it as well. I'd like to see the money though taken out of economic development, since that's the purpose of it. Because we'd set aside a certain amount of money for that purpose and it seems to fit that criteria.
I kind of lean towards what Donna is saying. I'd like to know more about what the criteria is. But on the other hand, it's $250. How long am I going to belabor this, not knowing what the, and I do agree it is economic development. So it becomes almost like an ad in the newspaper type, in the Northern Woods and Water. Councillor Portley, did you have something you want to add?
Just if the business is on the west side of the river, count. Just saying. Just asking.
Big enough plan?
I'm all for it. No, I think it's a great idea, and it's just another positive for the business community.
All right then, you have nothing else, and each year, obviously, this will be, they would have to come back.
Yeah, like the award will be given out regardless of whether the town wants to partner with it. It was just that they were gonna go to the town and the county to see if they wanted to be part of it. That way there'd be a little bit larger monetary award that would be given. Otherwise it would just be a chamber and economic, what's the committee? Big Lakes County Economic Development Authority. We thought we'd like to see that it became more of a collaboration, and instead of the town having us, based on not having an economic development officer, an economic development department, this is this opportunity to partner and to sort of leverage the program.
And the only other comment I would make is this is a good opportunity for, in the budget year 2018, business licenses should go under economic development. If you had the business licenses there, then you could say, okay, the businesses paid for this, let's give them some of their money back. So.
Just for your information, I happen to know from many years ago that the town of Peace River, their Board of Trade, every dollar that came in from the business licenses went to the Board of Trade. A few years later, when town started taking the money back so that they could have less control over the Board of Trade, since it was a business venture, not a town venture, then they cut it back gradually over 3 years to, I think it was 75, then 50, then 0. But originally the intent was for every dollar from the business licenses to go to the chamber. Just some historical.
All right then. Their money. All in favor? My motion is carried. Next, capital budget addition. Could I have a motion on that? Councillor Rose.
The council approved the addition of $23,000 to the 2017 capital budget for upgrades to the town campground as presented.
Would the treasurer like to speak on this?
I think I put most of the information in there. What had happened is that we had all these projects going for last year with the funds, and 52 Ave did not take place last year, and the operating portion of MSI has to be spent in the year that we get it. It cannot, well, under rare circumstances, they will allow you to carry it forward for 1 year, but they don't like it at all for operating. So it has to be spent this year. This is a project that was already there that Mike was waiting to do. And so I split the amount partially for this and partially for the what the fire department and bylaw are getting for their communication equipment. And so it'll be spent this year as per the guidelines of the grant. And then next year we can use that money if council deems for Vern for Street 52 Ave.
All right then. Any other questions? Any other comments? Councillor Panasic and then Councillor Gilroy.
I know from where I camp out at Shaw's Point that it's really nice to have 30 amp power. But I also know from talking with them, as soon as you get it, people will run their air conditioners all day long and it'll use a lot more power and electricity. So I'm wondering if we are going to do this, is there going to be an increase in rates to help pay for that increased power that people are going to be using? And what do the campers think of more rates if they get the power?
It hasn't been discussed with the campers, but I do know that in the office we have discussed exactly that, raising the rates, because this year, because I broke down exactly what it cost the campground, and Mike and I are going over that tomorrow afternoon, as a matter of fact. We're supposed to be scheduled for this afternoon and it had to be postponed. We're going over all those details to find out whether the rates should be increased or not. But I know that he wants to do 14 sites with the 30 amp. So there'll still be the sites that will be without the 30 ampage, that will still be a lower rate. So people will have the choice of the two. Yes, the rates will probably increase somewhat.
And those rates are in our fees bylaw, right? We set the camping rates in the fees bylaw?
Okay, I wasn't sure of that.
Yeah, so, okay, as long, that would be my condition, is that they go up, because it's gonna cost us a lot more to run those.
Councillor Gilroy.
Actually, Terry, you started to talk about what I was going to ask about. Do you have a time frame when we could actually see how the accounting went for the camping program this year?
You can have that at your next council meeting.
If you're there.
And after the water bottle.
No, actually, like I said, I had planned on having the preliminaries to give to you guys already at this meeting, but it's just delayed till your next meeting. I currently started working already on the operating budget for the 3-year budget, and so you'll also have that or the next council will have that at their next meeting for the preliminary. But you will have an idea of what it's got for the campground, because their program basically finishes middle of October. So it's still open at the present time. It'll be pretty well finished. We have 2 or 3 units that are staying in there longer.
I can always sit in the gallery.
Good point. I might be joining you.
I'll probably know.
All right. Any other questions? Any other comments?
The fencing portion, just to let you know, the reason that Mike wanted to have the fencing was on the south side of the campground because of the highway. There's been a few incidences over the years where some people have parked their vehicle on the highway, jumped over those posts type of thing, there's just a few posts there, and started fighting with somebody that was in the campground. I know it did happen last summer when I was living there, the one weekend. It would have ended a lot sooner if I had got it out of bed. But anyways, and this summer there happened to be a 3-year-old girl who took off across the ditch and almost to the road by the time the parents stopped her. So by putting the 6-foot fence just along the south side, it'll eliminate a lot of those problems.
Definitely.
So that's the reasoning behind it.
Okay. All right. I guess we've beat that one to death. All in favor? That motion is carried. Do you want another break?
I think so.
What's up? Well, I think we'll continue. We're going to talk about the 2018 to the 2020 capital budget. Could I have a motion? Councillor Rose.
Yes. The council approved the 2018-2020 capital budget as presented, subject to funding.
So, questions? Would the treasurer like to draw anything to our attention?
The first draft I gave you guys, I wanted to make sure you guys had something in the agenda package, so I sent that to you guys over the email and through your packages so you'd have it. However, I did work on it some more after that, and that's when you got the colored copy in your baskets, and that's got the funding sources, and I will go over that in a little bit more detail with you. And then I also did a draft, which is also in your baskets this afternoon, that shows just the projects themselves without for the 3 years, because this colored one is only for the 1 year. But in your package, in your bins, there was also the 3-year with the additions and the changes, because there was a few projects from the Amoresco 10-year capital building plan that had a whole bunch of projects that need to be done from 2015 till basically the next 40 years. Those have not really been gone through since 2015 when it was supposed to start. We already now just about finished 2017. So Vern and I discussed this, and we put the 2015 to the 2018 projects all in 2018. So there's a little bit more to be done there than would have been otherwise. And then I narrowed it down even further and just put the capital into this budget, which is why you have the revision. The original one had some of the operating little things of 1,500 for this, 500 for that. So those amounts are going to go into your operating budget that I'll be presenting at the next meeting. But the capital portion has all just the capital things for the buildings that need to be done.
Okay, so you know that the revision, the one she's talking about, both have revised on the top. So if you don't have the ones that say revised, you don't have the information that she's talking about. Check Michael's too, would you please?
I just grabbed mine this morning, so this was this afternoon.
Yes.
Councillor Gilmore?
Is that's the latest update on the, 201-816 buildings, museum outside East Wall. Is that including the current stuff? Terry? Since you were talking about it, the first page, 201-816 museum outside East Wall. Is that including our latest email on the museum rebuild?
Yes. And that's why next to it, it says urgent. No, but on the colored copy, it says urgent on the far right. That's the one that Brian, our CAO, and I have been discussing for the dollars part portion. And that one, Brian was also telling me today that if they can even get it done this year before December, they might even get working on it this year. So I'm not sure if council then wants to change it to a 2017 project or leave it as a 2018 project.
Do we have money in 2017?
I don't know yet if I can find it, but I'm sure if I have to, I will.
Okay. Can you give us an update of what needs to be done there? We saw the emails, but we didn't hear from the builder.
We had a company come in and give us a cost estimate to replace all of the east wall. It wasn't as bad. I don't want to give any numbers out, but it wasn't that bad a number. And right now, we're worried about whether there's asbestos within them walls. So I have a company, Mike Denty's contacted a company out of Grand Prairie today, and they'll be down, I think, late next week, I think he said.
To take a sample.
And they'll do a test for asbestos. So the amount that we budgeted for could go up somewhat if there is asbestos within them walls. So
Oh, okay.
we're hoping and praying that it's not.
So this is the bottom,
That's the bottom line, yeah.
Okay.
That's the
base,
that's the base, yeah.
and then asbestos will add on. Okay.
The company that I talked to today said even if there was asbestos in there, they have ways now that they just drill a hole in the bottom brick and they can
Suck it.
basically suck it out, and there's no exposure to anybody or whatever, so
Can they do it in hospital?
it could be not as bad as what we're suspecting,
Anticipating.
so.
And what is the cost? Moisture? Moisture?
Yep.
To reiterate what CAO Martinson has said in talking to Darlene, she told me as well that the masonry fellow that they had from Grand Prairie said a portion also of the north wall and the west wall, and the roof needs to be looked at.
The roof?
Yes, he said the roof needs to be looked at as well.
The roof part was he thought it was leaking, but it's not leaking. What's happening is there's no eaves troughs on the east side, and what's happening is the water's just running over, going down the walls. And the masonry gentleman that we had contracted to look at it said that the indentations in the brick are so deep that the water's sitting in there, and then it's draining through into the brick, and
When it freezes.
Councillor Jonathan?
I would really like to see the museum as a priority if we can. Based on the issues that we're having, and this last go round, I sent everybody the emails of the condition of the walls and whatever, and we have lost some of the artifacts that were near the east wall. They've been damaged, so I'd rather not have the chance of losing any more. I would like to get this done as soon as possible.
Mr. Walker?
Also in the 2018 budget, that $3 million for the reservoir expansion, that'll keep sliding down the 10-year capital plan until it's actually needed. So it's there because that's where it was placed in the 10-year capital plan back in 2014 when it was originally done, or even before that. So that'll keep sliding back. And also, I talked with Terry earlier today. One of the pickups we were going to take out, and because the cost replacement of the trackless is more than the 125, we were going to add that 25,000 to the replacement of the trackless, and take out one of the pickups and have it slide down the capital plan as well.
Oh, the trackless tractor.
Yeah. Also, we also discussed, I discussed with Tim last week in regards to the steamer and the air compressor, and we can probably slide that down, which I briefly discussed with Terry this afternoon. So there are some things that can slide out of that 2018 budget and reduce it from the 6.9 million that it sits at there.
How much is our capital budget usually?
Ranges between 2 to 3 million.
Are you expecting us to have 6.9 million figured into this, or are you expecting us to choose which ones we want?
I expected you to take out the 3 million.
Okay. Oh, so then you were down to the 2 to 3 million?
Yeah, 3.9.
I've got you. Okay, Councillor Jonathan?
And just looking at the capital budget, is the valve repair to the reservoir underneath the tennis court, is that?
That's contained in the Evergreen Reservoir, the 200,000.
That's Evergreen, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we will be placing that into tender this year, so we will have an accurate number for it to be done in early 2018.
Maybe Ken can chime in here. With fire truck replacement, you don't have a value in that. I remember you saying that it's coming up due and it needs to be done right away, so.
I
But,
would estimate between 4 and 5.
Is that a big tandem pumper truck?
No, it'd be a single axle.
Single axle? Main pump truck, so we should be in there, if I'm not mistaken. If we're gonna try to budget for something like that, I mean, we need it, we're gonna need it, so.
I thought I had it in there.
There's no value in it.
Right.
Supplies, vehicles and equipment, number 5. Fire truck replacement has no value.
That's a 2019 budget. That's a 20. We were looking at the 2018 one. We haven't gone to the 2019 one yet.
Am I ahead of you? Sorry. I'll wait. So,
Councillor Gilroy, you and Councillor Jonathan.
So if we continue to pass this, and we find the money for the library, can it be done as soon as possible? Would we have a lot of options that we could use it?
Library?
For a museum?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Johnson tried to close.
And they make reference to it because the museum used to be the library.
Basically, as soon as I get this budget approved, I will be starting to look at grants. I will be starting to do some research within the next week or so, and priority will be the museum, because like Brian said, it needs to be done this year if at all possible.
And well, the weather is.
Correct, so I will do my darndest to find something as soon as I can.
Councillor Jonathan?
just wanna be clear on, you know, we approved this list, it's to go out there and get some tenders perhaps, and to start looking at it, cause at this point, I'm going, where are we gonna come up with, even if we drop the 3 million, we're still at basically 4, which is more than we've normally had, and I'm going, how do we afford this?
What happens is that, last year we approved the budget so late that we couldn't get the tenders out. We weren't able to apply for some of the grants because it was too late. And so this year we're trying to do the opposite and try to be ahead of the game, have the projects in place, we can start looking for grants, we can start doing our applications, our RFPs, et cetera, and the whole bit. We will only do what we can do financially. If we can't afford to do it, we won't be doing it, obviously. There is always the option, and this would need a council motion. Let's say that we were able to get the one project done and we didn't have the funding for it. MSI will allow you to use your money for 1 year ahead. So you could borrow from next year's money to do it this year if you had to. But that would require a council motion to do that.
I guess I just wanted to be clear that by approving this list doesn't mean we're approving $7 million worth of spending, right?
No.
No,
I just know it's.
and personally, I would actually ask the motion to show that you remove the 3 million right off the top.
And then, what about the rest with the 4? Cause are we saying that, we're saying, okay, you go ahead and carte blanche and do all of this, or?
If we can get the funding, that's why the motion states with funding.
Right, we-
With funding. Okay,
We-
that's what I just wanna be
Yes.
clear on, and which ones,
I'm,
cause we're
I'm
gonna
very,
have to prioritize
I'm very
this
careful, financially, I'm always, some people use the word cheap. Other people say frugal, but I'm very careful with money, as anybody that knows me knows, so I will not spend money we don't have, believe me. And I think Vern is along the same lines too, so.
And we still will be having budget meetings after the fact. This is just a preliminary thing that, so we can get it going.
So with that in mind, why would you wanna take that 3 million out for the reservoir expansion? Why wouldn't you wanna leave it in there and let it slide like everything else?
That particular one, Vern says it does not need it right now, so it does not need to be in the budget, but when they did.
For
their
28.
plan- For 2018,
Yeah.
so when they did their plan, they thought it would need it by 2018. So I went by all the plans that I had, and that's why I came up with this budget. And as I talked to different people, okay, this can wait, some things have to be done this year instead of in 2020, there's gonna be done in 2018 instead, but there's always gonna be a little bit of juggling of projects when they're necessary, not exactly when it was the budget, when the capital plan was put into place 5 years ago.
Mr. Martinson?
The reservoir expansion hopefully won't come into effect anytime in the future, because we're still hoping that the county will look at the regional water service into town, and then the capacity we have out there will be more than enough. Cause they'll
So
be pumping.
continuously, yeah.
Yes.
Anyone on this side? Councillor Rose, and then Councillor Gilmore.
So is there funding that was left over then? If you're saying that we had funding, we have projects funded last year that we didn't get to apply for grants, or we didn't get to bid on, we didn't, like, is there leftover funding? Is that why this is increased, or?
If you look at the top portion of the projects, those projects had funding into place, the very top of the first page. Okay, they've already been approved, and what happens is that the funding was not, like the 3 that are in yellow should be done by the end of 2017. They're in progress right now, but they may not be, they might have to overlap and finish off in early 2018. The first 2 might not get done until 2018, but the funding was already put into place. It's already, it's going forward. It was approved by council. No, that's the 2018 budget. The 2018 budget, maybe I should have done a separate page for you, but 2018 budget starts where it says 2018-01 roads. That's where the 2018 budget starts. Okay, the top was just carry forward. It says to carry forward from 2017, so it's not part of your budget.
So that additional 800,000 isn't even in that total of?
Correct.
6.9, okay.
Okay. Councillor Gilroy, did you have a question?
I'm assuming when we said subject to funding, that if there's anything that's going to go over the budget, or something's going to really throw us off, because I'm looking, going, boy, 2020, I know we're not looking ahead, but almost 10 million there. And then the middle was 24, or 2,400,000, and with the 3 million over there, that's roughly 3,400,000 or 3,510. 10. No, well, I'm just saying that I know you guys will, because we said as funding allows, and that you guys will come before us and before anything is gone too far. Is that right?
What happens is that the way that the new budget is model that the government wants us to start with the multi-year capital budget. You're approving the 3-year budget or 5-year budget in theory, but basically this time next year you'll be reviewing the 2019 budget all over again, because that one could change 3 times between now and then. There could be a whole bunch of different things that happen. But this, I think the province and the feds wanted municipalities to start thinking long-term for sustainability, for juggling of projects, things like that. And that's why they wanted to put the long-term budgets into place. I can't say that's exactly, but my reasoning as an accountant is I think that's what their intent was. But this will still be coming to council every year, and you guys will be changing all the future years every time. The one right now that you're focusing on is the 2018 one. That one is probably about 90% accurate. And the 2019 one and the 2020 one are just kind of theoretical to give you guys an idea of what's coming up and down the pipe type of thing. So,
Mr. Walker?
And in the 2020 budget, you see membrane filtration. If other members of council can remember, that was in 2015 at one time, and it has slid down the list because environment has not required us to put it in. And membrane filtration is becoming a thing of the past because it uses so much process water in order to maintain it. So they're looking at other ways. Also, if it was to be done, the last time that I looked, because we are a partner with the MD sort of in the selling of water, that would be 10-cent dollars, 90% government funding and 10-cent municipal partnership funding. That's what it was when we built the water plant. So.
There's special grants available just for water, but they're not. You can't use them for anything else.
Yeah. So although the numbers are scary, there's other funding sources too.
All right. Pretty well. What they've given us is the best scenario we possibly could have at this point. And thank you. This probably took quite a while to put it together.
The first year always, because it's a new 3-year thing, and I had to go through the Amoresco report, I had to go through the equipment report, I had to go through the capital plan report, and there was a 4th one. It took a little bit more time, yes, but now that I've got it organized in such a way, from here on it'll just be adding another year and taking off one, and it won't be as onerous of a job because the formulas are there, the format is there, everything is there. Because I think the format works, so.
So what happened to our 10-year capital plan that we did 3 years ago?
It's still in existence, and that's where these numbers are coming from. So because Terry wanted a three-year capital plan, that the stuff that's in there from infrastructure is contained in those 3 years. The other years are still in the plan.
So are we going to add?
More years? Yes.
So we are always going to have a 10-year capital plan?
Yeah, and we are in the process. I think if you noticed in Madam Mayor, you weren't here at the last meeting, but in my report, I did say that I was working on an updated version of the 10-year capital plan.
But see, I used
The existing one.
the DCL Simons report for this, and I don't know if any of you have seen the Amoresco report, but it's very detailed from 34 to 40 some pages for each building, and it goes through everything for every building as to what needs to be done with pictures. And like I said, that was time consuming, but it was very informative too.
Did we do the Amoresco report with this council?
Yes.
It was, okay.
Here's, that's because I still have all my little notes that said, Sports Palace needs lights. Well, so, and that's my only other question, is Sports Palace, you talk about the piping in the Sports Palace. replace copper piping, is that the, underneath the slab? That is underneath the slab? Okay.
It's the water.
It's the water, it's the freezing pipes underneath the slab.
Underneath the slab,
Yeah. And any of those details, if council wants to see any of those details, just come to see me at the office and I can show you those pages for any project of any of these things. I've got all the information.
Okay.
Water, we can get a grant.
I don't think it's not potable water. And actually, when I see this in 2020, it's nice to know that the Sports Palace will still be in existence. Maybe. All right, so we have a motion to, could you read it please back, so I know what it was?
That council approve the 2018 to 2020 capital budget as presented, subject to funding.
All right, all in favor?
Did you not want to read the 3 million?
What I can do, because it says as presented, I presented it verbally, and so I will take out that 3 million and send you guys by email a revised copy.
Okay.
That'll work also. Can do it either way.
So I think we'll vote again, all in favor?
My bad.
Okay, it's carried. So the next item is the Northern Woods and Water Highway Guide. Could I have a motion, please? Councilor Rose, come on, you guys, you're not holding up your end.
Give me a break here. The council approved the 1 6-page ad in the amount of $250 in the 2018 Northern Woods and Water Highway Guide.
Councilor Long, and then I'll go to the treasurer and then Councilor Gilroy.
So I'm looking at it from the Northern Woods and Water Highway Association membership fee 2018. And it says for a population of 5 to 2,000, that the value is 250, but it would actually cost us $500. That's on page 35.
35.
So in fact, if we wanted to have that 1/6 page, the value's 250, but it's gonna cost us $500.
No, that's the membership, municipal membership is 500.
So then we just get that ad for 250?
As we did last year.
All we're doing is buying an ad, not a
Same
membership.
as last year?
And are we not approving, why, Councilor Treasurer?
I believe you didn't last year.
Buy the membership?
We just bought an ad.
One ad.
Yeah.
I thought we bought a membership.
No, because if you recall, I got quite a few cases of the magazine to bring to that thing that I went to in Edmonton for all the tourist booths. And I also brought back a few cases for the county that Dale had asked me to bring back on his behalf. But at the time, he asked me about the membership, and I said I'd let my CAO know, and he did let council know, but you guys did not get a membership last year.
So in that case, if this is just for the ad, I have no idea why you're bringing it here, because it's an administrative decision whether you wish to advertise or not.
I'd give my recommendation, but ultimately it's council's decision whether you wanted to join.
Well, so that's
I
the
did-
membership.
I didn't, yes, I didn't see any benefit in it, as they don't go through our community. The Northern Woods and Water route design for their trail does not go through High Prairie.
Yes, it does.
Huh?
It's got to. Because it comes from McLennan to High Prairie, down to Athabasca.
Yeah,
You got quite a few in the booklets last year.
they don't, not in the book that they had to do.
I tried to find on the website, I couldn't.
I've got
Some books here, but I'm pretty positive it goes right through.
I think
May not.
the route shows.
Might go through Winagny.
Well, can we just like vote on this for now?
Yeah, and
get
we've
through
got,
the agenda and
so
then,
now this, again though, this is an ad.
yeah.
Why are you bringing it? It's the membership we would be concerned with. The ad is your own
He's
business.
trying to tell us he's not finding a value in that.
Councillor Gilroy.
My quick question is, it does say it's also on, it's also on electronic version as well. Is there any value in us trying to see if we can get an electronic version and attach it to our website? I'm
You
just
can
saying,
put a
we're
link on
doing,
anytime.
we're doing all these apps that we're trying to get on to do the, to show how valuable we are up here. And that, I'm wondering if, in the social media age that we seem to be in, if we can't, when we put these things out, if we can't somehow get them as well to allow us to put it onto our website so that it's more value for people wanting to come up here.
It's the link. It's just a question of putting the link on your website. And it's the same with the historical, Friends of the Northern, Sheila Willis's organization, Historical North.
Guinness or who knows.
It's just putting the link on our website, which we can do anytime. They'd love to have us there. So what was the, okay, all right. So we don't have a motion here for a membership. All we have is a motion for the ad. I feel that's an administrative decision. What do the rest of the council feel? Call the question.
What budget does it come out of?
Advertising, administration.
Administration's advertising, not council's advertising. We have an advertising budget too, so this would be. Yeah.
That's why.
Ryan, you want some help to spend your money?
Vacation fund.
If it's coming out of our budget, we gotta approve it, right?
Yeah, but it should be administration. Okay, so who made the motion?
I did.
Do you want to withdraw it because it's an administrative item?
You guys want me to? I don't really. I just was following the CAO's recommended action. Which I was told I was supposed to follow the CAO's recommended actions. By Councillor Long.
All right, are you going to withdraw it?
I'll withdraw my motion and we'll leave it up to your
You
purview.
deal. And bring it back as a membership next time. Because if you get the membership for 500, as Councillor Long pointed out, we get a free ad, 1/6 of a page.
It's 1,000, we get, member 350 after.
Is it 1,000?
Membership, really.
Oh,
And now
yeah.
council can do your research and figure out if you want it when it comes back, you'll know.
It's company, not as a corporate
Yeah.
sponsor.
Yeah, municipal, 1,000, and then we get a quarter page. Moving on.
He needs a vacation.
He's getting one apparently.
I'm jumping on it. Council approved CAO's request for vacation days, November 6th to 17th and November 27th to December 1st of 2017.
Are we gonna let him go?
Just don't take any moose jerky to Mexico, they might not let it through.
All in favor? Apparently you can go.
Out of your own personal budget.
That's a lot of time away, Brian.
Subdivision application. Could I have a motion on this? Oh, what? Oh, okay.
You'll work. This time they need for a reason.
Right, the subdivision will happen.
All right, could I have a motion? Counselor Gilroy.
Go for it.
That's right, I was just thinking, where did most of them go? There we go.
Do you want me to read it?
On the back page of 40.
On the back page, what page?
42.
Page 42. That's fine, there we go. Page 42.
Yeah, it is. It starts there with administrations.
Okay. That the town of, sorry.
That the Town of High Prairie Subdivision and Development Authority approve the subdivision applications SUB-2017, all that portion of the northeast quarter of Section 23, Township 74, Range 17, west of the 5th Meridian, which lies west of Road Plan 1254PX, which lies north of Block B, Plan 4065 ET, which lies east of 2nd Street West, Plan 4065 ET, and which lies south of the lane adjoining Block 6, Plan 4065 ET, containing 0.15 hectares or 0.37 acres, more or less, excepting thereout all mines and minerals.
Okay, do you want to just give us a short version?
Okay,
Okay, if you go to the map that we have provided on page 48, it shows the portion that we are trying to take out is the cross piece right there. And if you look on the east side of the river, there's also two portions there that have the same certificate of title.
Oh, really?
And so what we're doing is subdividing that portion off of them other two portions. And
Of that
then,
title,
and
okay.
then when we have a new title for that, then that can be offered to West Fraser for sale.
Councillor Gilroy.
I just want to, one quick question. We will still have quorum, but is there, since this is Councillor Danaka's business, like where she's employed, is that a conflict of interest for her to vote on this? We would still have quorum at 4.
Is the title in our name right now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So the title's in our name,
I just want clarification.
yeah. And so I would say that unless it is the next step, if we sell,
Yes.
then she would be in a conflict. But this is,
Technically, she knows what we're doing, which is getting it ready for them to buy. If you really want to get, play this conflict.
It has no monetary advantage to us.
For employer.
that is
So
being
it doesn't
affected?
necessarily have to be a pecuniary interest. It is a perceived conflict of interest because it's her employer, as it was with Brian's employer.
That's what I was getting at.
What,
If
what are we gonna do with this?
Say, I don't see why.
That piece of land, we're gonna sell it to West Fraser.
Ah, okay.
It's
Yep,
still
I agree with you.
but
Okay, what
That's
happens
just my opinion.
to our quorum if she?
Still have four.
Still have 4. By department,
1,
you
2,
still have
3,
yeah,
4.
we got quorum.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about, so your subdivision and appeal board, would you not want them to hear the information? I mean, it's public, right? So everybody else knows. So the only people that don't get to know anything about the process and about the explanation that the CAO provides, is the appeal board. Like, why would they not have the information? I understand them not voting.
They're
But
gonna
why
get
wouldn't
that
we-
information.
No, but they're not, right? Like, we're kicking them out of the room. Like, so
Right.
why would they not have the information? So when you're on an appeal, like, you need the actual original information when you have to deal with an appeal, right? So why would we not have them as part of the conversation and just,
Mr. Martinson?
If there is a objection to the subdivision, and at that time, then I would explain it to both members that are.
no, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, obviously in translation and something gets missed the next time and, we've seen, anyway, I'm just confused as to why there's no value in having them receive the same information as everybody else, because, I mean, we're allowing general public, our big audience, everybody else to know, except for our subdivision and appeal board.
If this brings to the appeal board, then the appeal board must be unbiased. And if they're privy to listening to our discussions.
Well, they are, because they can just go watch it on the internet.
That's true, but they're not gonna hear what we're saying specifically until they watch it on the internet, which makes no sense. But
make any
in
sense
saying
to me.
that, I would expect that anybody who comes and appeals doesn't feel like, well, you guys were sitting right there and you were winking and nodding and maybe kicking his foot and saying,
I guess. Okay.
part of it, you were part of the decision. No, they're not. They're not part of the decision. So, as Donna was not part of Councillor Danaka is not part of the decision. So, are you declaring a
She's
conflict of
kicking me under
interest?
the table, though.
Yeah.
She's
Are you-
been beat still.
Are you declaring a conflict of interest, Councillor Danaka? Are you declaring?
I heard that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought you were ignoring her.
No, I'm ignoring her. I guess it could be perceived that I'm biased to West Fraser and saying, yes, we've subdivided here, you can have this land. So yes, there is a conflict. There is a conflict.
Thank you.
But I just want
Yep.
one question before I go, which I had, from the Mackenzie Municipal Services Agency from September 21st. Land use bylaw regulation. Is that still direct control? I thought we got rid of direct control.
There is still some parts along the river that are still direct control.
Because it's the river.
Yes.
Okay.
still, that portion is still zoned and under direct control too.
Can we get rid of anybody else?
Yeah, really, anybody else wanna look?
Say, you Mark wants on his vacation early now.
All right, we have our four.
Hey, you can't leave.
Get rid of me.
They're falling like flies.
I gotta go.
I see there's actually one page here, it's not signed by you, page 47, does that make any difference?
No.
Okay. All right, so, therefore, we are subdividing this land out as a, as part of our overall plan to consolidate titles. And this is another step in doing that. So, all in favor of Councillor Gilroy's motion? And that motion is carried. We have to bring everybody back in again. We're almost to the end. Yay.
Okay, people. They don't wanna come back?
Yeah, no wonder.
We still have quorum.
They have to.
They don't have to.
All right.
Okay. Beyond the ball, it's your motion. I'm tired of making it. It's your turn.
You got quorum.
Sorry, Brian, we have to be there.
Recording secretary here, he has that. All right. Next item is the CAO's report. Go ahead.
Hey, the council received the CAO Brian Martinson's written report and action list for information. Big fella.
Okay, is there anything you would like to bring to our attention?
Public Works has completed a test section on the walking trails.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
400 feet of it we did last week. We finished it. What we did is we placed double mill poly underneath. First we removed the old asphalt, and we placed the double mill poly underneath, put some more gravel on top, and then we repaved it, packed it, and then we repaved it. So hopefully the roots won't come through the poly and it'll be good. For councillors and mayor that make it back in after the elections, there's a elected officials education program that I'll be enrolling you in if you are successful, and it's on January 6th and 7th. It's a Saturday and Sunday in Peace River. So we'll book an overnight for administration and council for that.
Do we have a second choice if these people can't make it?
When I talked to Leanne Anderson, who's offering this course, she said there was a choice in Grand Prairie, but they had 130 applicants there already. Around that, there was lots. And Peace River only had 30 up to this time. So they're also offering the course in Manning earlier, but Peace River is our closest locate, so.
Nothing down towards Edmonton or anything like that, eh? Nothing that we know of at this point.
Just in Edmonton, she mentioned today when.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the city itself.
Yeah. But then I guess if you think about it, if there's only one, you could probably slide into someone else's course. If
There is
there's only one person that's.
George Cuff is coming to Valley View in, I think it's November, December, and giving a presentation there also. But I think it's more informative, like it's not what this program is going to offer. So.
What is this program that you just, what is it called?
It's called the Elected Officials Education Program.
The George Cuff thing, I can elaborate a little bit on that one. What happens is that they wanted to have it right after the Grand Prairie session, so people would get an actual feel for the practical end of it instead of just the theory. And so they scheduled it right after the one in Grand Prairie, not knowing that the one in Peace River was gonna be a month later. But it's more the practical aspect of it.
And so everybody that's taking, the 130 people that are taking the Grand Prairie one are going to Valley View? Wow.
Not all
That's just the Grand Prairie Council.
But they could.
100, but they could. Okay.
They reach up there.
All right. Anything
And
else?
basically, I updated you on where we're at with the museum, and hopefully that we can find some funding here and continue on. The same company that gave me the quote, one of our walls on our planters was falling out, so I got them to refurbish it. They pulled the wall down and it was all bowed out, leaning out, was gonna fall. So they actually, when they come in today, they fixed the corner of the administration office here also. So they'll be done tomorrow.
You get the award for a better facade.
Terry's gotta find a place where she's gonna pay for it out of, that's up to her.
We've got $250 coming to an award.
Remember, Terry, put a couple extra plants in your lines.
And I met with John Ferguson, he's the district commander for the RCMP. He said that also he's going to the AUMA conference and said that we should meet with him down there and ask any questions that we have regarding the dog handler and that. He's still in McMurray, stuck in limbo, can't sell his house.
Can you give us a dog at least?
Put them in the pound.
We'll take the dog, we don't care about him.
Do we have a dog that's still coming on site here though?
Yeah,
'Cause
from Peace River.
From Peace River, okay, because I saw the dog, it was actually up north, and we were coming back from High Level via McLennan, and there was like 7 cop cars out, one in the ditch, and cops wandering a field with a dog, so I was wondering what's going on.
Any other questions for our CAO, Councillor Panasic?
A couple of things. What's the new lease agreement with the library? What's changed with that?
They don't have one. I've drafted up a new one to reflect the rent that they are paying.
Okay.
And I met with Pam Swery and Tracy Roberts. And what they were asking for is they wanted basically free utilities and that, but I figured out the amount of rent that they were paying per square footage because they thought they were paying the same amount as the people upstairs, and which are not. They're paying like 57 cents a square foot, and the people upstairs are paying at $1.37 a square foot. So I told them they still have to, if they wanted to pay the $1.37, then we would pay their utility bill, but their rent would go up to close to $6,500 a month rent.
So they like it the way
They
it
like
is.
the way it is now. So.
Okay. Second question is, when you talked about the test section on the walking trails, it flagged that we wanted to put in the 2018 capital budget an ongoing upgrades of the trails, so it always got, we wanted to put in like 500 meters or so, or a kilometer of trail each year. Because we wanted to do it this year, there wasn't money, told to put it into capital for 2018. So I'd like to see that built in for 2018.
What would the dollar amount be per year? Because if it's less than 10,000, it falls under operating, not under capital.
It was.
Yeah, so it'll fall under operating. I'll make sure to put it in the operating budget.
The 400 feet we did was under $10,000, so.
Okay.
But that's only
400 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking
A kilometer.
500 meters.
It would probably still be close to 10,000.
So
We'll have to get the final numbers back of what it cost us for the 400 feet, or the distance that we did, and then we'll figure it out whether it'll still fit under 10,000.
Yeah, because I don't want to see that forgotten. I know that's a big
No,
concern.
we're gonna do another. If this works, we'll know early in the spring when the saplings start to grow if it's gonna come through that trail or not again.
Yeah.
We'll know early. So if it works, then we can certainly look at another 400, 500 feet, and I think there's really bad sections, and then there's other sections that can last a lot longer. So.
There is, absolutely.
Any other questions?
No.
Councillor Gilroy?
We haven't had this for a while, but I thought at one point you were looking at getting costs to refurb this room. Is that,
It's ongoing.
So I thought a few months ago you said you were gonna do it, so I just want an update on it.
That's still ongoing. The desks are hopefully being constructed as we speak, so,
The new council might have them.
yes, so it's
It's
still
an
in the
incentive
works.
to get reelected.
It's still in the works.
Okay, did you get your question answered, Councillor Gilroy?
Yes, we found it.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Walker?
Under the CAO's report, I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been here for the duration and the other two that came on after the fact. The previous councillors, Councillor Empter and Carrier, did allow us to go forward with some of the plans that we had, and it's nice to see such a diversity of council. You don't always agree, but in the end, you always do what's best for the municipality. It's been a pleasure working with you, and good luck in your election campaigns.
We appreciate that. All right, I have one other question. Tree planting,
I'm gonna put a water fountain in your.
still going ahead, or are we pushing it off?
It's still going ahead. I give that blurb again to Mike today, and he's checked with Christie's greenhouse, and she didn't have enough trees, so she's checking other greenhouses to get some more fruit trees.
Okay.
So,
We're planning kind of putting fruit trees on Railway Avenue, a couple of, and we'll be putting, I gather, cages around them to start with to make sure that they're gonna be, yeah. Councillor Rose?
Did we, make any decisions? I know we approved a gala sponsorship, right, for 10 tickets. Did we make any decisions on the tickets? Cause I also have, had a email from ATCO, and they would, they're going to do a sponsorship as well, and they can't send anybody in attendance because they're part of this Kathy's Run that's happening on the same day. So they asked if there was anybody else that needed their tickets, and I had recommended for them to see if you guys, like, if the staff wanted some of the tickets. So for yourself and for senior staff, because they have 6 tickets. But I wasn't certain if we had made any decisions about these tickets here.
no decision has been made on these ones.
Because it's the
When's the gala?
2 weeks. Like it's, but
Take
we
them.
won't.
I'm certainly sure some of the senior staff would be more than appreciative of,
So I'll take the ATCO staff, I'll take the ATCO tickets and we can use them for senior staff, but there's still 10 tickets that we sponsored. But that's not 2 per council, is that gonna be 1 per councillor? And then, cause we approved them based on it being important that council attend.
Yep.
So is that 1 per council
I
and
think
people
that's-
buy their extra ticket? Like we need to sort of define that, I think.
will the new council will be meeting before before the gala?
Okay, so we just have to remember that
What day's the gala?
21st.
You have an org meeting?
24th is the organizational.
Well, then
Email them the day after the
yeah,
election.
we'll let the CAO handle.
Okay, just so
He'll
we,
start with the councillors
Yeah.
and then add the spouses.
but we do have 6 extra tickets now.
6 extra tickets, I think. Send it to your senior staff. Does that sound reasonable? The rest of
Is
council?
that 16 altogether then?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's 10 for the table we're doing,
And then 6 for Matco, so.
And Danielle, are we inviting Danielle or who's inviting
she's already
Danielle?
there.
She's a guest speaker, so we don't have to worry about that. Arnold Pearson, are we inviting Arnold Pearson? Do we want to invite Arnold Pearson to our table? Is the chamber inviting Arnold?
I
As
don't
long as they can sit with us, Linda, 'cause
think he is, unless LSLEA has been.
Oh, us, well, I don't know yet.
across the Scotch.
That's true, he was good from the golf tournament.
Okay. So, I mean, these are conversations, we can probably do some email, and then, some of these guests may be coming with LSLEA, I don't know if they had approved a sponsorship.
Tomorrow I'm checking the mail.
There you go, okay.
Apparently it's checks in the mail, so.
We've heard that for a while,
Well,
eh?
as an aside, they did not sort the mail today because so many trucks came in, 2 trucks came in, and they just don't have time. I don't know how Canada Post upper management can keep sucking out the staff that work from all of these little communities and still expect us to pay for that service.
I was told, can I speak? I was told that the priority is on the
Flyers.
flyers and all the other paraphernalia that pays the bills. The actual mail doesn't pay the bill. So they put priority to all the flyers and all the catalogs and all that stuff that more money to be distributed. That's their priority. If they don't, if they get all that done and they have a little bit of time left, they'll start some mail. If they don't have time, well, that'll be.
Okay. That's incredible.
Just think how hard it would be if they actually had to deliver it to our houses then. We'd actually have ID to vote with.
Oh, that's another thing, sorry, which you brought up. When the High Prairie School Division has their poll here in our council chambers, they're not asking for identification of residents, they are only asking that you sign the form. What was the decision of the returning officer for? But you know that was ambiguous.
Says, one piece of identification issued by a Canadian government, whether federal, provincial, or local, or any agency that government that contains a photograph of the elector and his or her name and current address. And then it says, or one piece of identification authorized by the chief electoral officer. So what that would mean is utility bill.
You have to advertise, you have to have a bylaw that lists what you want to have as required ID. You have to advertise that 6 months before the election. It says it right in there, the Elections Act, about page 50 something.
But not everyone reads bylaw anyway.
Well, no, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because you're going to have people going to the school division and they're gonna sign the thing saying, I am a resident of the town, and then they're gonna walk over to the town, and the town says, well, I don't believe you. You have to bring in a letter or something with your address on it. I mean, that's gonna be a lot of grief, I'll tell you that right now. We're gonna be on the hot seat constantly because of that school division allowing or not allowing that. So Councillor Gilroy.
If it's the same people, I already voted, and we voted here, and then we went over to the county, and all they asked for really, they just wanted to see like a driver's license, and we had the extra stuff because we'd been at the town first, and we offered to show it to them. They said, "Oh, the driver's license is fine. You look like you live here."
Well, anyhow.
That's what
Board there and the town here.
I think I heard he voted in both places.
Yeah, you did. You did the count,
So, sorry, Debbie, I voted for you twice, and you've been eliminated now, so you can.
Okay, so I'm just bringing it to your attention that we're gonna have confusion, and you as the returning officer are gonna bear this confusion.
Praise God.
Staff will have red hot photocopies.
Okay, is there any other questions regarding the actual CAO and not the returning officer? Seeing none, all in favor of his report? And you're not on vacation. Monthly report for FCSS, Councillor Gilroy.
I'm giving Debbie a break. The council received the August 2017 report from FCSS for information.
And are there any questions regarding this report? Seeing none, all in favor? It's accepted. Remembrance Day ceremony. Could I have a motion? Councillor Rose.
The council approved the mayor or deputy mayor to attend the Remembrance Day ceremony at the Royal Canadian Legion on November 11th, 2017.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? It's carried. We're now down to the written reports, and where's my list? Myself, I have no report, as I attended no meetings during that time frame. That's, the meeting cutoff is previous to that, I believe it is. When's the meeting, when is the submission cutoff? West Fraser was after the cutoff,
The week before
yeah,
meeting.
so I may not have to make one at all. All right, so, seeing as how I don't have one, we'll move on to Councillor Danaka.
I have no report. Pretty much everything that I was gonna discuss about the museum has been discussed, so I move my non-verbal report for information.
That's a non-verbal report?
Is that something like a non-public meeting?
Then non-public meeting, yeah.
My non-written verbal report.
I don't think we'll accept the motion. We'll move on to Councillor Gilroy.
Because there were no official meetings, I will say no report.
Okay. Councillor Long,
No report.
no report. Councillor Panasic,
I got 2 items to report on. One was we had a broadband meeting with Steve Epley, and that group is moving ahead. It's kind of good. The key come away from that is they're going to be presenting to council in early November. He figures he'll have all of the numbers sort of prepared. He's got a plan, really pushed him to come up with what are the steps, what are the costs, and sort of those timelines. And so we'll have some dollar figures to look at what it would cost to implement broadband, and we'll have to then decide if we want to move ahead with the project. Because if we don't put any money towards it, the project will stop, right? That's where they're at. They want to keep going, but we'll have to make decisions on that soon in November. The new council will have to make decisions. Also had a waste authority meeting, and just the couple of highlights out of that is there's a new agreement that council will have to sign for waste authority members. So coming to council will be a new agreement. They will, have you received anything from them? You should be getting it soon. It'll be on one of the next 1 or 2 council agendas, and they've basically updated it because it was 25 years old or 20 years old, and they've drafted up a new one with only a couple of changes, but so that's it. And the other thing that was really interesting, we went out and viewed a little bit of concrete crushing, where they crush concrete like that's been pulled out of someplace, and it's really, he's got a little bucket that he puts on his hoe. He picks up a piece of concrete, and it's just a little shaker, and it rubs them, and it just comes out in these chunks. And it's supposed to be quite valuable for building roads and doing other things. And so the Waste Authority is looking at hiring him to create this, but it's stuff that the town, and Vern, you might be interested in purchasing some of this for the roadways because it's supposed to compact so well. It's supposed to be a really good product. The only thing, he doesn't want to sell anything just yet because he hasn't got a magnet system to pull out all of the metal. So when you're, the rebar, and worse than the rebar is the mesh, because it's just the right thickness to go through your tires. And there's a lot of mesh in there, but he's bringing in this magnetic conveyor that's supposed to take care of that. And so it's amazing how it can crush that concrete like nothing. Like, it's amazing. But, yeah.
Councillor Gilroy?
I love the information about the broadband. The question would be, is he going to each of the different partners and then giving them a suggestion on what it would be? Or, because the county's part of this and the other partners, so that we know that what percentage of it that we'd be asked, the next council would be asked to do?
Absolutely, yeah. He's sort of got it broken down by areas and what it would cost for the town, what it would cost for the county. They're also looking at trying to build in Lesser Slave River MD. So trying to build that in and coming up with rough numbers, but something that you can say, okay, this is roughly what it's going to cost. Do we want to go ahead with it? And if so, here's the next step. This is what it's going to cost, and go ahead. And benefits and the drawbacks to moving with different options. So he's bringing options and costs and stuff forward. So should be good. No other questions? I move my report for information.
All in favor? It's carried. Councillor Courtney?
Only attended one meeting, and CEO Mr. Martinson touched on that. I was with the rec board, and it is still continuing, making great steps, but not fast enough. So, but it is coming to fruition. So, it will be in the new the new council's decision, I guess, or carrying on, however it plays out, but it, looking very positive. That's all I've got.
Has the landlord been given notice over there?
Yes.
Quite a while ago?
Yes, we had to give 9 months.
Yeah. So
And that has been done.
We're gonna, what, eat a couple months, that's it?
How many we're gonna eat as far as months? It will be, probably 2 months,
Yeah, okay.
which
It's not very
is
much.
not, it's all right. It'll be okay.
And brain injury, are they being accommodated here separately, or what's
haven't-
happening with them?
we
They're
haven't
moving
discussed
into
that.
something else?
They were in contact with me and looked at an office space over here, so they would be separate from rec board.
Separate rental agreement then, okay.
Are we reserving space for the rec board employees on the other side when they come over? The administration part of it?
That is in limbo yet,
Sales.
There is office space available there.
if needed.
There's vacancies.
Okay.
Okay, January 1st implementation, as you said. And we don't know what the board structure is yet.
Not as of yet.
When do we,
There-
when will the council, the new council, be privy to that information?
I don't know.
Okay,
I could guess, but I'm just guessing.
Probably open November sometime.
okay,
Literally, probably.
okay. Anything else? Any other questions for Councillor Courtney?
I move my verbal report for information.
All in favor?
Can I vote on my own?
Carried. Councillor Rose?
You guys have a copy of my report. Some of it is what I verbally reported on just because my written report kind of got messed up last week. One thing that I'll draw your attention to is the mural mosaic workshops. We're hosting 3 open workshops for community residents to sign up for. They're all going to be hosted at the Legion. During the day, we've got schools that are going to be coming to sessions. As of 4:30 on the 16th, there'll be one session, 4:30 till 5:30 on the 16th, and on October the 17th, there's 2 sessions, 5 o'clock, or 5:30 to 6:30? Yeah, and 7 till 8. So you guys can email the Sesquicentennial Committee, you can email myself, or there's an Eventbrite link that I had emailed out to a few people just to see, can you guys tell me if this works right? Donna tells me that she struggled with it, so.
Actually, I went on there, no problem.
Okay, so you know what, I'll send it out to everybody, and then you guys can forward it on to staff. And it'd be great to see some of the town staff interested in coming and participating. So basically, they're all just gonna be able to paint a tile. Depending on attendance, they might be able to paint 2 tiles. They're going to, there's gonna be the design team from the Canada 150 team that will be in town. They'll give you some instructions, give you an idea. They'll help you with the color choice of your tile, and then you can paint. You can come in with your own ideas, like your own, what does High Prairie mean, what's significant to you, and you can actually add that. Like if you were interested in something that's not depicted in the mural, but you want it inside the mural somehow, you can paint that on your tile.
What's the time on the 16th?
4:30 to 5:30.
Councillor Gilbert?
Realizing that not everybody is on social media all the time, or sometimes not at all, in our community. That was reiterated by our Northern Lakes College chair. How else are you going to celebrate it? For example, it was really interesting. I'm not on there a lot, and I have to apologize for that, but I didn't see about your corn maze until after I read your report. So is there a possibility that, for example, for the schools, they can send letters home with the children and make it a good, like, advertise a little bit with paperwork as well, or even put a couple signs up as well for some of the people who do not, aren't always accessing the net?
Posters at,
Posters are up. All the schools have been contacted. There's students from pretty well every school that will be there. Not every student, so we only had room for so many classrooms, but some schools have got 2 or 3. We've actually got even a school from Jussard, I think, that's coming in with students from that area. I don't know that there's a note going home with each child for their parents, right? So I don't know, that's up to the schools how they want it. So they were given a copy of a letter, an invite, so they could have sent that, they could have chose to send that out. We've been on the radio on a regular basis, advertising on the radio. We tried to hit most free methods of communicating, and we didn't really feel that we had a budget to put ads in the newspaper to advertise it. So I'll provide Nancy the link now, because we had too many events going on at the same time. We had the corn maze happening as well, so we want, and I think that Nancy's already put some of the chamber stuff up, right? There's a link towards the nomination form was up there.
I think so.
Yeah, so we're trying, but you're right, that is the internet. So, I mean, all we can do beyond that is put it on our electronic sign, and maybe that way people can email or call. Yeah, posters, we can put the posters. Yeah, the posters are made and they're up around town. I'll make sure they're up in enough places.
How many was final at the maze? 300 something, or?
I don't know, it's
Under
anybody's
300.
just under 300.
Just under 300?
It was fabulous, it turned out really good.
That's very cool.
Okay, any other questions?
Then we'll move my report for information.
All in favor? Carried. And that is it, except for personnel at the end, and you wanna go in camera for that, or what is the? Okay,
Oh, we're cutting it close. And again, to everybody, good luck.